and welcome to this special conversation with Prabhjeet Singh, who is the president of Uber India and South Asia. Now, Uber in India has crossed a significant milestone with more than 1 million drivers now registered on its platform, making India only the third country in the world for Uber to do so after Brazil and the US. The company has also just announced its India Economic Report, which has quite a few interesting findings. So without any further ado, let me welcome Mr. Singh. Thank you very much for speaking to CNBC-TV18 here. Let me start with that India Economic Report. And you talk about 3,600 crores in economic activity from your two-wheeler and three-wheeler, Uber Auto and Moto. You talk about 13,600 crores of economic footprint supported by Uber. Just tell us what exactly this means, the big highlights from this report.
Look, we have just finished 10 years in this incredibly important market.
11 years now.
11th year going on, and we continue to feel very good about the progress we have made. One of the challenges we've always posed ourselves is to assess, as the Indian economy grows, how do we hold ourselves accountable that we are actually contributing in a measurable way to the economic growth of the country. And so this economic report, which has been done by an independent party, Public First, actually goes and assesses what is the economic impact which ride-hailing services from Uber has had. So, for example, when it comes to categories like auto and moto, which are one of the fastest growing categories for the business, the socio-economic impact unlocked is to the tune of 36,000 crores, not 3,600 crores.
Okay.
And the quantum there is really a function of how we are driving better utilization of assets, creating an earning opportunity for earners, where earners who are actually on ride-hailing platforms like Uber are able to then earn as much as 60% higher in some cases than other alternative options. Second is the economic value, which they are hence then putting back into the economy as they drive, for example, whether it be maintenance services of the vehicle, etc. And then it also looks at the consumer side. As consumers embrace digital-enabled ride-hailing services, they are able to then save time. They're able to actually achieve more economic outcome from their own personal time, which is saved. That coming together is something which the independent company has actually shared with us, and we are thrilled to share that with all of you today.
At what pace is the ride-hailing market in India growing?
It is indeed an exciting time for the ride-hailing industry. The industry went through a pretty tough time during the pandemic, but now we're actually seeing growth which has been never seen before in the category. For example, each month we are attracting more new riders and more new drivers to the platform than ever before in our history, which is then leading to the wider industry and our portfolio growing anywhere from high 20s to mid 30s on a year-on-year basis, which I think is an incredibly strong signal to the consumers embracing shared mobility and platforms being able to respond to unique consumer needs. So what Uber is doing is really focused on, in a obsessive manner, to make sure we continue to improve our consumer experience and provide choice. And some of the services you mentioned, whether it's Uber Black, which is targeted at consumers who are looking for a premium experience, willing to pay a little extra for that. That service has been launched in one city, hoping to bring it to more cities. Uber Pet, that's actually talking to a very specific use case, which many of our riders have spoken about. It also creates an extra earning opportunity for drivers. Categories like Uber Intercity, where you can actually take an Uber and go from Bangalore to Mysore and have the same convenience of affordability, safety, and convenience, which you are used to on an on-demand model. So the category is expanding in multiple dimensions, and we are proud of the role which we are playing in that.
So what does that mean, if you were to sum it up, in terms of how the ride-hailing market is expanding? At what pace for Uber?
The fact that we now have 1 million plus active earners on the platform who on a monthly basis are using the platform to earn a living, and that number is growing at a very, very rapid manner. The fact that we have consumers who are not just more consumers entering the platform. What we're actually seeing is consumers who are in the industry or are using Uber are actually increasing their usage on a monthly basis. So metrics which we measure are around total audience, which is growing at a very large pace, but also the engagement. And the fact that we're able to now offer multiple services ensures that consumers can actually stay within the Uber ecosystem in case they want to go from point A to point B and can access multiple services through the same experience.
You mentioned that 1 million drivers on the platform milestone that you've crossed. What about the users? At what pace is that growing for you? And what's the next big milestone now that you've achieved this one?
I think my team will tell you that I've always focused on the bigger picture and the vision than just focus on near-term milestones.
Not concerned about the bottom line so much.
No, not so. We are a very disciplined operators. We are building a business which is sustainable, which is ensuring that we are able to continue to invest in the new growth opportunities. Ride-hailing is a category which ensures that if you are able to run a disciplined operation, put your head down and execute on the right consumer experiences, there is strong economic output, as you have seen from our globally published quarterly results.
Yeah.
Coming back to India, I think what we are very much focused on is ensuring that at the end of the day, on the consumer side, more consumers are entering the category than ever before. For example, as we speak with consumers, many consumers are truly debating whether they want to purchase the first vehicle or push out a second vehicle purchase because options are available in the market.
Yeah.
Second is, as the macroeconomic trends, for example, as users go back to offices at a much larger number than what had happened right after the pandemic, as travel picks up on back of just a macroeconomic growth in the country, the emerging middle class, infrastructure creation, all of them actually have compounding effects for the ride-hailing industry. And we are seeing that play out. So what we are seeing, for example, early signals of this would show up also in commercial vehicle sales. Now, more drivers are actually purchasing a new vehicle than they did for the last 3 years. We are seeing more consumers entering the category, and those who are in the category are using multiple services. In fact, one of the new services we're very proud of is Uber Shuttle, where you can actually now get a bus, which is, I would argue, the most efficient way to actually get across the city. And those bus consumers are probably traveling 12, 15, 18 times a month.
What is the kind of investment you're looking to make into India? Maybe give us an outlook for the next 5 years as to how fast the market could grow.
We are very much obsessed about doubling down in the India market. It is one of the fastest growing markets in the portfolio, third largest already, and no reason why it can't be a top 2 market or the largest market at some point in the future. As the market grows and as the economy grows, infrastructure gets developed, and there's a wider space of digitization, we estimate that we should be able to continue and sustain this pace of growth. At the same time, we recognize we have to continue to focus on service quality, putting more vehicles on the road. India is and would remain a supply-constrained market. And our rate determining factor is going to be the ability to put new vehicles on the ground, or enabling and co-opting existing vehicles which are sitting idle and bringing them onto the network. So I think we feel very good about the paths we have for all of these, and we continue to double on. This is my personally 10th year at Uber. I won't be here putting my sweat and blood if I didn't believe that this could be transformative, not just for Uber as a global company, but also what we can do for our society here.
In terms of your own market share, have you seen some hit because of the new entrants?
We have always, not just in India, but across the world, operated in markets which are competitive. One thing we have learned consistently is that we operate best when we are competition aware, but not competition obsessed. And that's a mental model with which we are operating. For example, there are multiple players, many of them with different operating models, innovations which they're bringing to the market. We continue to learn from that in addition to playing to our strengths. What we're actually seeing is more players entering the market. A is a great signal that they're all seeing potential in the category. B, it actually helps accelerate digitization and bringing more consumers and earners to the platform. So for example, if you look at ONDC, the real vision of taking digital commerce to the masses, we believe that can actually then expand the pie for more users to come into the category, and then for platforms like us with a certain business model to participate in that. And that's what's going on in the market. We continue to see that our market position is the strongest it has been in our history in the market. We are market leaders, and we continue to focus on serving more earners and riders on a regular basis. We can't take our position for granted. We have to be on our toes and continue to execute with our nose to ground.
Well, since you brought up ONDC, you signed this MOU with them earlier in February, to potentially look at an integration with the network. What is the status on that?
We are very, very excited about the potential which ONDC offers. I think not just for digital platforms, but for the country as a whole. And because this is going to create a democratization of access to digital services across the board. We are in a very active dialogue and working in the background on multiple opportunities with ONDC.
All right.
We will share once we have more to share on what will we be bringing to the market.
Well, we've seen one of your peers look at the food delivery, sort of system with ONDC, that is Ola. Is Uber exploring something like that?
Well, I won't be able to comment on specific plans.
Okay.
Globally, we have a thriving mobility business and a thriving delivery business.
Yeah.
And we continue to believe that there is incredible value when you are able to offer multiple services to consumers on the same platform. Having said that, right now, we are very much focused on doubling down on our mobility business. We believe that there is so much to be done here. We believe focus helps. We believe disciplined execution helps.
Sure.
That's why you have seen our history in India has always been about sticking to what we are good at, sticking to the core, and that's what we are focused on.
How soon before you cover more cities, and how much of your fleet is going to be electrified, say, in the coming few years?
Ritu, this is a multi-year journey. I would argue one of the big transformations which are still to play out fully, and India has an opportunity to leapfrog electrification. Having said that, you spoke about 1 million plus earners, getting a high percentage of them to actually embrace their next vehicle to be an EV is not a straightforward task. It is a team sport. We have a role to play. So does the government. So does the local policymakers at a state level. So do manufacturers who are actually putting vehicles on the road and charging infra providers. So we are trying to work with every stakeholder in the ecosystem to be able to further this agenda. We're taking very early steps. I think we are far away from our overall point of arrival. We now have Uber Green live in 4 cities already. The feedback from consumers and fleet partners has been incredibly positive. And we continue to work on plans to both scale them in those cities and also take them to more cities.
Are you looking at expansion in the near future, perhaps in Tier 2, Tier 3, and those other parts of India?
Look, we always believe that India is a multi-decadal opportunity for us. We have to stay the course. We have to go deep and go wide. Going wide is about really introducing the multiple portfolio of services. And going deep is to be able to serve consumers where they are. We started as a urban-centric, metro-first operations. That's the reality for the ride-hailing industry in the beginning. And we're now expanded to 125 cities. I think we have our task cut out that we need to work on all the 3 dimensions. Within the cities we operate in, including, for example, sitting in Bangalore, we need to go deeper. Today, in peak hours, finding a vehicle in Bangalore can be hard in certain pockets. Right? Which actually is a signal that we don't have the right number of vehicles available right now to fulfill the full demand. We need to continue to expand the services which are available to the existing consumers in the cities we serve. And then third is expand our city footprint. So I think it's a combination of all 3. We don't chase vanity metrics to say we are live in X number of cities. What's important, Ritu, in our business is that if we are operating in a city, can we serve the city in a credible way? Which means can we have enough liquidity of supply and demand so that the marketplace throughput can actually ensure that the service quality is able to achieve its purpose. I think we are getting there, and we'll continue to expand. In fact, what I'm most excited also when you spoke about automotive, there's some cities which we are launching as auto first or moto first. 10 years back, I couldn't have imagined that because we were always a cars-based service. And this transformation in terms of localizing, I think is an incredible case study. There's few cities I will just straight away launch only with a 2-wheeler product now.
All right, Prabhjeet, hold your thoughts. We have a lot more to get through. But on that note, we will take a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We're back in just a moment. Welcome back. We're in conversation with Prabhjeet Singh, the Uber president for India and South Asia. Reliability, that the driver won't cancel, they'll show up on time, security, of course, and affordability. These are some of the key concerns that customers have that may be using your application. What are some of the measures you've put in place to improve these metrics, say, over the last couple of years since, perhaps you got that notice from the CCPA in 2022?
I think, Ritu, we have been focused on these 3 pillars from the day we have started operations, which is, can our rides be affordable, which would then encourage users to opt in and make it a habit? B, can the ride always be safe, both in the terms of when you request, when the vehicle shows up, after the trip is over, the way we manage all the data, the way the experience plays out. And if you do have an issue, unfortunately, you're able to reach out to us in the right way and get an empathetic support.
Okay.
And then third is about the reliability, which is that if you, when you need a vehicle of the kind you need, are you able to get that within a reasonable time frame? I think those three pillars remain the same, with independent of what era of the business we are in. But having said that, there are multiple factors which impact that. For example, when the pandemic hit, and coming out of the pandemic, we could see that there was a significant shift in the marketplace construct. There were tons of consumers who were traveling either lesser or had changed their riding habits differently. Same way on the earner side, when there's many earners who had actually changed their preferences, wanting to take certain kind of trips versus not do certain kind of trips. Some of them had actually gone out of the category and they came back to the category. Now, as that has happened, I think we have very much obsessed on making sure that we put reliability, safety, and affordability the first. On reliability, we are obsessed about putting more vehicles on the road and making sure that the drivers get compensated fairly, recognizing the marketplace dynamics. So, for example, if you're having a long pickup, are you getting compensated for that? If you're driving in a peak hour, are you able to actually get that extra earning to be able to be in the traffic when the traffic will take it longer? And that's why we continue to advocate for flexibility in pricing. But if you could have fixed pricing, as some cities intend to or have tried to have, it will lead to complete collapse of the reliability of networks, because it would not make economic sense for someone to drive at that point. Second thing we've been focused on is safety. We have actually introduced multiple new features, which are, many of them are India first. So, for example, ride check, where if your vehicle gets an unscheduled stop, you will actually get a notification checking in how you're doing. You get an option to actually talk to a safety agent who can then guide you in case there is a unfortunate incident or an unfortunate external event which they need help on. And then it comes to affordability. That's a function of two things. One is, can we continue to make sure that if our core platform is utilized more, the benefit of that utilization then leads to lower prices for everyone. Second is to introduce lower price form factors, and that's where three-wheelers and two-wheelers come in. Introduction of these has led to a option of ride-hailing now suddenly available to a much larger segment of the market. Not many people actually know today we do more trips on two-wheelers and three-wheelers in India than on cars.
But be that as that may, given that CCP is now just recently issued a notice to one of your peers because of the rising consumer complaints, would you say for Uber that number has meaningfully moved? Has it come down?
We track consumer feedback, the number of trips which do not go as well as we would like, what we measure as 5-star trips. We measure defects on the trips. We measure support tickets. We measure tickets to external bodies like the grievance helpline. So we track that, and across the board we have seen that our processes are leading to continuously having much lesser number of consumers feeling the
so consumer
informal
complaints
experience.
have come down?
Across the board on a blended basis, when we look at the relative to the scale of the platform, we continue to feel good about the direction it has taken.
What about the drivers' earnings? At some point of time, we'd hear from drivers they'd have to pay as much as 30% of what they earned because of the platform fee, because of various taxes they had to make. What are you doing to, increase the earnings for them while also keeping the rides affordable? Because the prices, of course, have been trending up.
That's the heart of the question, which we are always obsessed about. Number one, we are very much focused on making sure that with every trip, and someone who drives with Uber should be able to have a sustainable earning, which is better than the next best alternative which he or she has. At the same time, consumers should have the lowest price possible, because that will ensure that they are able to then either ditch their private vehicle or choose Uber or choose a shared mobility platform versus something else. So to make that equation work, we are making sure that we are providing the best technology, for example, when it comes to matching. For example, when it comes to partnership with payments companies which provide discounts to consumers, providing extra layer of safety net to drivers beyond earnings. And the proof of the pudding, cutting through all of that, is that we are adding more drivers each month than before. And the only reason that will happen is if they're able to see the value proposition work for them. And same for consumers. And we have to stick to that. I don't take that for granted, right? Drivers have choice. As you said, there are multiple platforms. Many of them are actually using multiple apps. It's not just about getting the driver onto the platform. It's also about making sure that when they get a choice between different platforms, they choose to do the trip with Uber. And that will happen if they know that A, they will have a fair earning, B, they will know the same thing which you said. If something goes wrong, Uber will have its back in case there was an safety incident. And third, if they need to reach out and talk to us, we are there.
Well, speaking of gig workers, the Karnataka state government is looking at imposing a cess, on these aggregators to sort of make a pool for social security for these gig workers. That draft bill is expected to be tabled soon. What would that mean for the business for Uber?
We haven't seen the fine print specifically what you mentioned, but we have always, as Uber in India, advocated for a safety net for gig workers. We've always believed that the gig workers should have the choice to have the flexibility what gig platforms offer, when they drive, where they drive, who they drive with, how many hours they do that, which days of the year they go back to the village. At the same time, it's important to have a safety net. For example, there will be instances of health emergencies, family emergencies, and a safety net should be provided. The best way to do that is to actually have a industry-wide contribution from platforms. So in that spirit, we actually welcome measures towards that. Having said that, we believe that the Code on Social Security, which both houses of the parliament in India have actually passed, and I would argue is a landmark bill, and I would say it's probably a shining light for multiple countries globally. Unfortunately, it's not yet gotten notified and implemented, so we are advocating for that to get implemented. That will make it easier for platforms like us, which have pan-India footprint, to actually participate and contribute to that safety net versus doing it state by state, each with its own different complexities and different rules. I think it's important in the spirit of ease of doing business that the Code on Social Security gets notified reasonably quickly. Last
time your global CEO, Dara, was here in Bangalore, he said how the India market is quite tough. If you can crack this, you can crack any other market because the customers want a lot, but they don't want to pay a lot for it. Have you cracked the code, would you say? What would be your reply to Dara?
I would say what Dara signaled was more a compliment to what we are actually trying to do in India. India is a challenging market. It is where we need to, as you said, it's hyper competitive. There are regulations in every state, but the opportunity and more importantly, the chance to make a difference. There's a rare opportunity where, as we grow the platform, we are helping with livelihood creation. We are helping consumers get access to mobility options. Last year, we published a report which spoke about the impact on women riders because they're able to access economic opportunities. And you need to do it in a way where you can do it in a sustainable basis. And we are, by the way, doing all three. And that I'm incredibly proud of. Consumers demanding more is a good thing. It pushes us to innovate, pushes us to make sure that we never take our market position for granted. And we are at it.
Well, Prabhjeet, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, on that note, it's a wrap on this special conversation. Thanks very much for tuning in. It's a goodbye from all of us.